Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now look at this. Now I don't normally do blankets this big. This blanket has got 14 rounds. It's got 14 rounds and it's a little shell and a V-stitch blanket. Now you might think that this is really difficult. It's not. If you're a beginner, if you get your wool and you get your hook and you can crochet along a row round after round with me. So I did this with a blue version of the Red Heart Soft Baby Steps. So, and it's super soft. This is so soft, this yarn. I was trying it out with something else, so it's all wrapped up. This is really brilliant. On Lovecrafts, this is only $1.99 a ball, and it's 100 grams in it. This little blanket was just less than 300 grams. So 3 balls of that made this size of blanket, and I had a little bit somewhere, I had a little bit left of it. So it's so pretty. It depends on your tension. You might use less or you might use a little bit more. But when you think the ball of yarn is only $1.99 and this blanket cost me just less than £6 to make. It's an old but popular blanket to make, and it's so pretty. You can do it in any colour you like, and I'll get my yarn and I'm going to show you how to do this really pretty square shell stitch. It's like an extended granny stitch almost, because it's a cluster of 7 trebles and we're doing a V-stitch around it and then a cluster inside your V's. So we'll get that. I'll get myself sorted and I'll come back and show you how to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm using a 4.5mm hook for this blanket. The yarn that I'm using is it's a baby double knitting. So I'm just going to use a 4.5 so that I've got nice dainty stitches. You can use any yarn, and whatever yarn that you've got, use the hook size it tells you on the pack. So we're going to start with a slip knot. I just do a slip knot, wrap it around my fingers and just push it through, and I've got a little knot, and I'm going to put that onto my hook. Now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 4. We're going to make a little wheel with 8 spokes in it. So we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. That becomes your first treble crochet and your first chain stitch. Now right into the bottom of that chain we're going to do a treble crochet. So just go into the bottom of that stitch. Just push your hook through that stitch and pull through. We're doing a UK treble crochet. So through those 2 loops, yarn over and through those 2 loops. Chain 1. Now if you're in the USA, this is a double crochet, and in the UK it's a treble crochet. So we're going to do, that is classed as your first V-stitch. We're going to do this so we've got 8 of these little legs in our circle, and into that same stitch do a treble crochet, chain 1 and do another treble crochet into that same stitch. They're all going into the same stitch. So we've got that chain counts as the first one, that's your second, third and fourth. Do that until you have 8. So chain 1 and a treble crochet, chain 1 and treble crochet, chain 1 and a treble crochet, all into that same bottom stitch. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need to do one more. So chain 1 and do my last treble crochet, chain 1, and what we're going to do is we're going to count. This was a chain of 4, So into the third stitch up, you're going to slip stitch and close that round off. Check you've got 8 of your stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So into that third stitch, I'm going to just do a slip stitch and close that round off. So that's us done round 1, and we've got this little wheel like this. Now if you have to, just push the pause button. If you push the pause button on the video until you catch up and then press play again, you can crochet along with me. Now what we're going to do is, into this next space, we're going to put a double crochet. If you're in the USA, this is a single crochet into that space in between these 2 stitches. Just going to pull that a little bit. So just put your hook through, pull your yarn through, yarn over and come through those 2 stitches. You've done a double crochet. Now into the next space in here, you're going to put 7 treble crochets. We're going to make our first fan. So that's 7 treble crochets into that space. If you're in the USA, that's a 7 double crochets into that one space. So yarn over, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Into the next space, do a double crochet straight through and do your double crochet. Into the next space, we're going to do our 7 treble crochets. We're going to create another fan in there. So if you're in the USA, that's 7 double crochets. If you're in the UK, it's 7 treble crochets. So yarn over, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Into the next space, double crochet, and 7 treble crochets into the next space. It's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Double crochet into the next space, and then put your last 7 treble crochets into this space. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now to close this round, we're going to go into that double crochet, just slip stitch, just go in through that double crochet. You've got 2 loops on your hook and pull that one through that one, and that's you got your little middle part of your blanket done. Now what you're going to do now is we're going to chain 4. That chain of 4 counts as your treble crochet and a chain 1. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now into that double crochet again, you're going to put another treble crochet. We're creating V stitches. We need 2 V stitches, 2 sets in between each fan all around. I'll show you how to do that. So we're doing a treble crochet. So that counts as your first V stitch. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and back into that same stitch do a treble crochet, 1 chain and a treble crochet. So that's 1 treble crochet, chain 1 and 1 more into that same stitch. So what we have is a little cluster of 2 V stitches. So it's a treble crochet, you chain 1 and a treble crochet, chain 3, treble crochet, chain 1 and treble crochet. So you're making a little cluster of 2 V stitches. Now what you're going to do is you're going to chain 5 and we're going to cross over to here. Yes, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. We're going to go into this double crochet and do that same cluster. So just skip that fan, yarn over and go into that double crochet and do a treble crochet, chain 1 and another treble crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, that's to split your V stitches, and I do another V stitch. So treble crochet, chain 1 and treble crochet. Now if I'm going slightly too fast, then just pause the video. But these stitches here, this chain of 5, will get attached to the top of this cluster when we do the next round. So we're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Skip that shell and go into the double crochet. We're going to do a treble crochet into that double in between those 2 fans, chain 1 and another treble crochet. That makes your V stitch. So you're going to do a chain of 3, 1, 2, 3 and do another V stitch. So that's 1, chain 1 and another treble crochet. So that's that section done with your 2 V stitches and your treble in the middle. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip over the fan and we'll do our last set of V stitches into that double crochet. So yarn over and we're going to do a treble crochet into that double in between those 2 fans, chain 1 and do another treble crochet. That's your first V section done. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. That's going to split up your V sections and do another V section in there. 1 treble crochet, 1 chain and 1 treble crochet. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Skip that fan and we're going to slip stitch into the 3rd stitch in this chain. 1, 2 and 3. Make sure you count that bottom one. 1, 2 and 3. And just slip stitch to join. Now don't worry if it's looking a little bit wonky or it's looking a little bit ruffled. Once we do the next round and these chains of 5 are attached here and we do our next fans around here and this will get attached in, so don't worry about that, it will sort itself out. So this is what you should have, and it should be looking like a little flower in the middle and looking a little rough around the edges. Don't worry about it being squint. Don't worry whatsoever. We will be working on it, and as you can see, once we do the next round, it's all going to straighten itself out. So the next round, so we've done 1 round, 2, 3. So these are the 2 rounds that we're going to be repeating all the time, this one and the next one. So your next round, you're going to slip stitch into this space. We're going inside this first V space and just slip stitch through, so that when you do your chain, it's coming from inside here. We're going to do a fan into here. We're going to chain 3, which is your first treble crochet, and put another 6 into that space. We're going to, this is your corners, we're going to put a double crochet into this corner. That's a single crochet if you're in the USA. We're going to put 7 treble crochets into this V here. If you're in the USA, that's 7 double crochets into there. And then I'll show you how to anchor down this chain of 5 that goes across here. Now this is us increasing. Every time we do these V's, we'll be increasing our square. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. That's your first treble crochet. So put another 6 into that V in this space. So that's 1. So your chain becomes number 1 and that one's number 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now into this chain 3 space, this is the chain 3 space that splits up our V stitches, do a double crochet. If you're in the USA, that's a single crochet. And then we're going to do another fan. We're going to do another 7 treble crochets into that space. So yarn over and do your first one. Oops, got caught up there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, oops, and 7. Now in this fan, find your 4th stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in between here, 1, 2, 3, 4, there we go. Into the top of that 4th stitch, you're going to put a double crochet and trap that chain in. So you're going to put your hook through that 4th one and just pull a stitch through and do a double crochet. And what that does is it traps that chain in there and holds it, and that's kind of like your corner done. You're going over to this one and do your 7 treble crochets. Into here you'll do a double crochet and then do another fan. That's your 7 treble crochets into there. So into your 4th stitch around this fan, you'll trap your chain in with a double crochet. I'll get you around to here and then I'll let you do the rest of it yourself. So we're going into our V stitch, Just skip over all of this. Don't go into there by mistake. Make sure you're going into the corner, into that V stitch, and you're going to do 7 treble crochets. Don't do any chains. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Put one double crochet into that chain space. If you're in the USA, that's a single crochet. And into the V stitch, do another fan, another 7 treble crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now around this fan, count 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you're going to trap your chain into the top of that stitch. So go into your 4th, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Count your stitches from there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go through the top of that stitch, right through like that. Your chain is here, that's your chain, and we're going to trap that in. So just put your hook through, pull your yarn through, and do your double crochet, and that's trapping that chain of 5 into the top of there. Straight over to your V-stitch and do your fan. Copy that corner. So it's 7 treble crochets, 1 double crochet, and 7 treble crochets into there. Count your 4 stitches, trap that chain with a double crochet there, and then finish your corner. So I'm moving over to the next one. It's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Into that chain space we're doing a double crochet, and then our next fan, that's 7 treble crochets. So every time I say do a fan, that's 7 treble crochets, or if you're in the USA, that's 7 double crochets. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we're going to pin this chain down. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches and put your double crochet in there, and then move to the next corner. So it's 7 treble crochets. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 1 double crochet into the middle and another 7 to complete this corner. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now we're going to lock down that last chain. Count 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's 4 there. Count 1, 2, 3, 4. and squashed in a little bit. 4 into the top and do your double crochet, and that pins in the chain. Now what you're going to do is you're just going to slip stitch into the top of that chain of 3 on this cluster here, and just pull through. And this is what we have. That's the back and that's the front. Now don't worry about it still looking that little bit. As it grows, as you can see, it's flattening out, and we're going to grow this round after round after round. So it will flatten, it will straighten itself out, so don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And that's what you've got for that round. So these double fans are your corners. These are going to be sort of like your corners. Every time you get in the middle, you're only going to put 1 V-stitch in. And when you're over here, we're going to put 2 in. Here, we're only going to put 1 in. And here it's going to be 2. So these 4 parts will be your corners each time, and your blanket will grow and grow. What we have to do now is we're going to we're a little offset because we've slip stitched into the top of there, but don't worry, you're going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. Now chain 1 more, that is your treble crochet, and this 1 more is your chain. You are just going to go right back down into there and do a treble crochet down into that double crochet. Don't worry, it's going to push itself over. So that's you done your first V stitch in the middle. All the ones in between these double parts will be just 1 V-stitch. When we get to here, we're going to copy what we did there, and we'll put 2 in. The next step is chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't do that chain too tight. Now we're going to go over that one and into this double crochet here. We're going to do that double V stitch again. So in between small fans, we're going to put 2 V stitches, and into these bigger sides here, you're only going to put 1 in. You'll see that in a moment. So that's your chain of 5. Do you remember we did that down here? So we're just going to do a treble crochet into that double crochet in between those 2 fans. Chain 1 and do 1 more treble crochet into that same stitch. Now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, because this is our corner, remember. You're going to chain, you're going to do a treble crochet in there again, 1 chain and your treble crochet again, doing that double V stitch. So we're doing our double V stitch with the chain of 3 in between. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't do it too tight. And into that double crochet, we'll do 1 treble, 1 chain and 1 treble crochet. We're doing 1 V stitch. So into there, that's 1 treble, 1 chain and 1 treble crochet. That's you made your next V. So it's a little bit like your granny square when you're going around where you're doing. So this is what it's looking like. It's really pretty. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skip over the fan, and we're going to do that double V-stitch like that. So yarn over, do a treble crochet, oh, I'm caught up myself, chain 1 and one more treble crochet. That's your first V-stitch done. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and do another V-stitch. 1 treble crochet, 1 chain, and 1 treble crochet. So that's my chain, and that's my second treble crochet. So that's another corner done. So you can see what's happening with it. So we're going into a bigger space that's between these two sections. We need to chain 5 to get across there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Treble crochet into that double crochet in between here. In you go. Chain 1 and one more treble crochet. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip the fan and into the middle do your double V stitch. So we're doing a treble crochet, chain 1 and another treble crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, because this is a corner, and put another V stitch. That's treble crochet, chain 1 and treble crochet. Chain 5 to skip over the fan. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip over the fan and into that double crochet. You're going to do one single V stitch because it's in between the sets, in between the doubles. You're doing one V stitch. So that's a treble crochet, chain 1 and treble crochet. Chain 5 so we can skip the fan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip that fan and into that double crochet in between those two. You're going to do your double V stitch this time. So it's treble crochet, chain 1, treble crochet, chain 3, treble crochet, chain 1 and treble crochet. So we're putting 2 V stitches in here. Treble crochet, chain 1 and treble crochet. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, because this is your corner, and put your next V stitch in. Treble crochet, chain 1 and treble crochet. We need 5 chain to skip over here, and we will slip stitch into that first V stitch that we made here. So chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and we're going right over here and we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain of 4 that we did. Remember we did 4 there, so count 3 stitches. We're going to slip stitch into the 3rd stitch in that chain, and there we are. So what you're going to remember is these are your corners. These fancy 2V, you've got a V stitch, a chain of 3 and a V stitch. These are your corners. That's the only time you'll do that. In between, you're only going to have one V stitch, as you work your way around. So please remember, put pins in here if you want. Your double V's are your corners. So you can, if you want, you can get a little stitch marker like this, and you can just pop it in there so that you know that that's going to be your corner area on your blanket if you want to. Or you can even just mark that V and mark that V, that's your corner. But you will see it, you will see it. Have confidence in yourself. So what we're going to do now is we're going to repeat this shell. We're going to repeat, or the fan, whatever you want. Some people call this a shell and some people call it a fan. It's up to you. So we will be attaching the chain again on the 4th stitch of that shell. So we've got one V here and we're going to put a shell into this V stitch. This was our very first V stitch. So what you're going to do is chain 3. 1, 2, 3. That counts as your first treble crochet. So we need to put another 6 in. So we're putting our fan in. I'm going to call it a fan. We're going to put our fan into here. So that's your first stitch. So we need 6 more. So that's 2 treble crochets we're doing. If you're in the USA, these are double crochets. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now you're going to count on this fan, we're going to lock that chain in. So count 1, 2, 3, and 4. Put your hook through that 4th stitch and make sure the chain is on the top of your hook. What you're going to do is you're going, oops, get myself sorted here, get that to the back. So put 1, 2, 3, 4, go through the 4th stitch, pull your yarn through, and it's going to lock the chain in with a single crochet. That is going to be a new area for a V stitch when we get to here. So now we're going to do the corner. You're going to do one fan, that's 7 treble crochets. You're going to do a double crochet into that space and do another fan into that V stitch. So your V stitches are going to get your fan. So we're going to do a fan into this V stitch, 7 treble crochets, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Double crochet into the next space. Do your next fan or shell, whatever you want to call it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We're going to lock the chain in now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Through the 4th stitch, right to the back. Pull your yarn through and do a double crochet. Move to this fan. Now this V stitch. Now this V stitch, you've only got one. So we're just going to put one fan in there. Or shell, whatever it is that you want to call it. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We'll just call it a cluster. I'm just going to call that a cluster from now on. So now we're going to lock this chain in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put your hook through the 4th stitch and do a double crochet and lock that chain in top of there. So now we're at a corner again. We've got our 2 V stitches. So we're going to do our cluster of 7 into this V, 1 double crochet and our cluster of 7 into this V stitch. Then we'll lock the chain in into the 4th stitch along, lock it in, do 1 cluster into here, lock the chain in, do your 1 cluster, 1 double crochet and 1 cluster, lock the chain in, do your cluster, lock the chain in, then finish the last corner. You'll lock the chain in and slip stitch to the top of here. So I'm going to work my way around my square, and this is what we're looking like. Now you've got one corner and you've got a middle. We'll have a corner, a middle, a corner, a middle, and a corner, and your middle. What we'll do after that is we're going to be building our V stitches. Then the next row will have 2 single ones, your corners, and in between it's going to start getting bigger and bigger. So I've got around to here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip into the top of that chain of 3. Just slip stitch in through there. And this is what we've got now. You can clearly see where your corners are now. These double sections are your corners, and you've got your ones in between. Now the next row, we're going to be doing a V in here, 1 single V stitch in here. We will be doing our chain of 5 across to here. We'll put 1 single V stitch into there, chain 5, and we'll be at the corner. Now the corner gets 2, so you've got a V stitch and a V stitch. You'll do your V stitch, chain 3 and do another V stitch, chain 5 to take you across to here. So you can see where the single V stitches are going to be. The single V stitches are always going to be down into there where you've only got your 1. Your double V stitch with your chain of 3 will only be in the corner. So you'll only do those double ones in the corner. Every other space you'll just get 1. Now you can see now that we're going to have 2 V's. This is where you're going to have 2 in here, and it's going to get bigger and bigger as you do your corners. As your corners come out, you'll have more and more V stitches in between, and more of your fan or shell, whatever your cluster, whatever you want to call it. Whether you want to call it a fan or a shell, it's up to you. And pretty soon your blanket will be like this. Now I'm going to take that out of the way, find the middle. I'll stretch my stitch a little bit. Now I'll find my middle. That's the middle of the blanket, and this is the middle of the next one. And look at that, it fits in perfect. Let me check. 1, 2, I've got 3, so we're over here with this one, and this is where we are in this blanket. Now as you can see, what's going to happen, each round you'll have more and more fans. That's the corners. So each round you'll have, we've got 1, then we'll have 2, then we'll have 3 single clusters in between their corners, and then you'll have 4, and then 5, and you can continue on and on and on, repeating those 2 rows. You'll be repeating your shells or your clusters and your V stitches. So you can see here where your V stitches will be for the next time. Your V stitches will be, single ones will be here, and your double one will be here because that's your corner. So I'll do one more row of the V stitches and then one more of the fan and one more of the cluster, and then you can just keep repeating that. Rewind the video if you get stuck. There's no shame at all in going right back to the beginning and watching the video again so you can see where you're going wrong. And this is very much a visual stitch. I've tried to read a pattern very similar to this and I couldn't get my head round it. It's not until you see it done and you see how it is that it clicks in your head. So I'll move this one out of the way. This is the one, this one was done with the Simply Soft, and it's beautiful. And it's beautiful done in white. It's really beautiful done in white. So our next round, get my hook back. What we're going to do is, so even though we're over here, we're still going to do our V-stitch so it fits in this space. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now you need one more for your chain space. So it's chain 4. That is your treble crochet plus your chain 1. Now we're just going to work back slightly into that double crochet. So yarn over and go into that double crochet stitch, and that's going to push your V-stitch into the right place. Now we're going to chain 5 because we have to skip over, remember. So this whole round will be V-stitches and chains. So you're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't do your chain too tight. Don't do it too tight. We're going to go into this double crochet here. Now we're only doing a single V because we're not at the corner yet. That's the corner where the two really close together. So we're yarn over and go into that double crochet there. 1 treble crochet, chain 1 and 1 treble crochet, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we can skip the fan. Now we're at the corner. So into this double crochet on the corner we need to put 2 V stitches. So it's a treble crochet, which go right into that stitch, yarn over and right into that stitch. 1 treble crochet, 1 chain, 1 treble crochet, all into the same stitch. Now chain 3, 1, 2, 3. It's that chain of 3 that separates the 2 V's for your corner. That's there. So we're going to do a V stitch. 1 treble crochet, 1 chain, 1 treble crochet. So that's your corner double V stitch done. Chain 5 to get past the fan. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 1 V stitch because we're in the middle. 1 V stitch into this double crochet. That's 1 treble, 1 chain and 1 treble crochet. And if you're in the USA, this is a double crochet. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Skip the fan or the cluster, whatever it is that you're calling it, and we're going to put a V-stitch in here, just one V-stitch, because we're not at the corner, not yet. Chain 1 and one more, one more treble crochet. Make sure you keep going into that same stitch. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip the cluster. Now we've got 3, you can see the 3 holes here, you know you're at the corner. So into that double crochet, you're going to put 2 sets of the V-stitch. So that's 1 treble crochet, 1 chain, 1 treble crochet, all into the same stitch. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, because this is your corner, and put another V-stitch into that same stitch as that last one. 1 treble crochet, 1 chain and 1 treble crochet. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip the cluster and 1 V-stitch into that middle section there. Go into the double crochet. Chain 1 and 1 more treble into the same stitch. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip over. We're not at the corner yet. We're not at the corner yet. So we're going, that's your corner there with those really too close clusters. 1 V-stitch. Chain 1 and into that, make sure you're going into the same stitch. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're at the corner again, so find the double crochet, do 1 V-stitch, chain 1 and treble crochet into the same stitch, remember. Chain 3 to separate the V-stitches. Do a 1 chain and finish that V-stitch. That's all into that same stitch. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip the cluster and put 1 V-stitch in to that double crochet. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip the cluster, 1 V-stitch. Make sure that you're going into your double crochet when you're here. Chain 1, do your single V-stitch. Chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, pass the cluster. Now we're in the corner. We've got all a row of little, you can clearly see that this is the corner. You're going to put your double V-stitch in, into that double crochet there, right in the middle. Put your double V-stitch. So that's 1 V-stitch, chain 3 and 1 V-stitch. Chain 3 and put another V-stitch in. And remember, your V-stitch is 1 UK treble crochet, chain 1 and a treble crochet. If you're in the USA, it's a double crochet, chain 1 and a double crochet. So I'm going to do my last chain of 5 and I'm going to slip stitch into that single V-stitch that's there. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and I'm going to slip stitch into the third stitch in this chain of 4. Do you remember we did a chain of 4 to begin with? Right through there, and slip stitch, and there we go. And this is what we've got. So your 2 repeat rounds are your V-stitches and your chains and your clusters. So now we're going on to a cluster row. And you can see it's grown because now we have 2 single V-stitches, and these are our corners. Now you can clearly see your corners. If you don't know where your corners are, put a pin, put some stitch markers into both of these V's, and you know that that's your corners. Your next round will be chain 3. 1, 2, 3. That's your first treble crochet. So we're going to do our cluster into here. That's my first one. So I just need to do 6 in this one because that chain makes 7. That's 3, 4. Oops. It's 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now we'll lock our chain in. So count the posts along. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going in through the 4th stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, and lock that chain in with a single crochet or a double crochet, and if you're in the USA. So that's a double crochet if you're in the UK. It's a single crochet if you're in the USA. So we're going to do another cluster, then we'll lock the chain in with a single. We'll lock the chain in with a double crochet. Cluster, double crochet, cluster. We're going to double crochet, lock the chain in, cluster, lock the chain in with your double crochet all the way around. Now I'll go all the way around and I'll show you what that last round looks like, and that is what you repeat. You repeat your V chain, your V's and your chains, do your corners with your double V with your 3 chain in between, and then your next round is your fan and your double crochet to lock your chain in. So I'm going to do this last round and come back and show you what it's like, and then you can carry on from there and make your blanket bigger and bigger. So this is, as you can see, it's so pretty. The whole time I've been making that big blanket, I keep putting it down and picking it up. I've been doing that one and a different one that's in pink, and they were my 2 main projects that I kept putting up and taking down, putting up, picking it up, do some of it. And it's just a delight to show you how to do this blanket. Now, I did say that the video would be a little bit longer, but look at it now. You can clearly see the corners, and you can clearly see that when you do your next V-stitch round, you've got more down the side. You've got 3 now, and then you'll have your double V-stitches to put on the corners. You'll have your chains of 5. So the next round will be your V-stitch round. Now, let's just pretend that you've made this as big as you want it. That is where you finish it. Don't finish it with the V's on it. Finish it just doing your clusters, your fan or your shell, whatever it is that you want to call it. and it is so pretty. It is because I've just done 14 rounds. I did, of the shell, I did 14 rounds. So if you include the V-stitch as well, that's 20 rounds altogether. But I've only done 14 of the actual shell rounds on it, and I got this, and it's really, really pretty. Give this a try. Give it a try. You'll love it. You'll love it. And if you get stuck, just rewind the video. Rewind the video. And I do apologise for the video being longer than normal, but it did take a bit more explaining to do this slightly more complicated blanket. But once you do one of these, you're going to do two. And if you do two, you'll do three. If you do three, you'll do four. You will get hooked on this blanket. It's so pretty and it's so popular. If you sell your blankets, this is so popular to sell as well and make yourself some pocket money. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very, very much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Please just click on that subscribe button. There's lots and lots of people who can still subscribe. There's like 500,000 people watch my channel on like almost like every 3 days or so. So if all of you people subscribe to my channel, then my channel will rocket. It really will. And the subscribing actually boosts my morale. It makes me keep going, because if people are still subscribing, that means there's new people are coming in, they're liking the videos, they like what I do, and they're supporting me with subscribing. I don't make any money whatsoever out of you subscribing to my channel. It's free to subscribe to the channel. It gives me moral support, and that is the most important thing for me. And if you click on that bell icon, then YouTube will alert you when I put up another tutorial. So until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.